Welcome back to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and today I'm going to be talking about an 11-game night in NBA action on Wednesday night. Today is Thursday, and I want to lead the episode off with the MVP Matrix update because we have a little bit of a shift in one of the games last night, the Raptors and Warriors game. May have maybe pointed out some flaws in the MVP Matrix with Kawhi Leonard missing. Without further ado, I guess, Kawhi Leonard moved up a spot in the MVP Matrix. So this week's top six is Giannis Antetokounmpo still at 1, Kawhi Leonard now at 2, Kevin Durant 3, LeBron James 4, Anthony Davis 5, and Steph Curry 6. I'm going to dive in a little deeper on the MVP Matrix at the end of the episode, but that is the top six. And Kawhi moved up from tied for third last week with LeBron, and then Antetokounmpo was first, Davis second. So Kawhi moved up a spot from third to second, and then LeBron dropped 2 spots from tied for he dropped a spot, I guess, tied for third to fourth, and then Durant moved up from fifth to third. So Durant jumped 2 spots, and then Kawhi went up 1, and LeBron dropped a spot to fourth, and then Davis dropped from second all the way to fifth on a night where he had 44. He now leads the NBA in 40-plus games. I believe he had, I think it's 4 or 5 40-plus games now this season. And then actually finishing in 7th was Kyrie Irving. I added Kyrie Irving this week. I also added Mike Conley, but Mike Conley finished second to last. So I want to now dive into the Raptors and Warriors game. So Kawhi Leonard missed the game last night with, I believe, a hip injury, and the Raptors still won 113-93. Now, part of this was the Warriors didn't play very well. I think as a team, let me pull up the box score real quick. As a team, the Warriors shot 23.1%, and 47.6% from the field isn't horrible. It was really that they were 6 of 26 from 3, when I would say they're probably from 3-point range, probably much closer to 40%, or maybe in the mid 30s. Probably somewhere between 36 and 43%, I would assume. I guess I could look that up, couldn't I? They really didn't get much, though. Curry, it was just an off night all around. Curry finished with 10. Klay Thompson finished with 14. Draymond had 2, but Durant had 30 and was overall really impressive. 13 of 22, 59% from the field. 2 of 4 from 3, 50% from 3. 7 rebounds, 5 assists, but did have 5 turnovers. I think there's 2 really interesting storylines here. We're starting to see the Warriors not be so completely dominant. There's at least some flaws every once in a while. And they've now lost. What's their record now? They've now lost 19. They've now lost 10 games, and like I said last episode, they lost about 6. They lost like 6 games one season. Last season, I would assume they probably lost maybe close to 20 games last season. Finished with 60 wins is probably pretty reasonable for them last year, 62 wins maybe. I think the other really interesting storyline, though, is Kawhi Leonard moved up in my MVP matrix because he had some pretty good games before he went out with the injury towards the end, over the weekend, I guess, and then this is his second game out with the hip injury, so probably missed a game on Tuesday, or maybe it was probably missed a game Tuesday or Monday, but did play well over the weekend. And LeBron also played really well, but went down a spot. And Durant continues to play well. His points per game over the last couple of games has increased. Steph's actually has gone down. Steph, instead of finishing first in points per game like last season, Steph finished. Okay, never mind. Him and Durant are now tied. So Durant's average is going up and Curry's is dropping. So they tied for first in points per game this season on the MVP matrix. But Leonard jumps, and they've now won a game against the two-time NBA champs by 20 points, 20 plus. And last night, they beat the Clippers, who have been playing really well this season so far. I still don't think the Clippers are a playoff team come the playoffs. I mean, the West, like everyone is talking about, is so incredibly close, and it's really, really fun to watch. Another good game in the West last night was. Wait a minute, I don't know if I'm done talking about Kawhi Leonard. So they won those two games over two top teams in the West, both without Kawhi Leonard. And maybe it kind of points at a flaw in the MVP matrix a little bit because, again, it's just two games in an 82-game season. It's really hard to not overreact to this kind of stuff and make game by game and day to day and week to week commentary and analysis on a game. So that's really all you can do is overreact. But now maybe Kawhi, I guess overall with the MVP matrix, what I'm going to do is just each week, maybe I'll do the same type of criteria where throughout the season, each week you get a point for being in first, and a point for being in and 2 points for being in second, 3 points for being in third, the same way that I do each statistical category to come up with the overall points in the MVP matrix. And whoever has the lowest point total at the end of the season is the overall MVP based on a week by week rating that is based on the statistics that make up the MVP matrix. So this thing, again, is going to continue to evolve. Maybe I should just go into the MVP matrix now that I'm talking about it. So if you're unfamiliar, the MVP matrix categorizes points per game, assists per game, steals per game, blocks per game, rebounds per game, plus minus, 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, win percentage. Now, each player, in order to be eligible for the MVP matrix, has to be on a team that is over 500% and a star player, essentially. I realized while I was making this week's that by that criteria, Paul George could definitely be in the matrix, but I was already too far into it that I didn't want to go back and reorder everything or have to reorder everything. So Paul George, I will probably add next week, but in any time that a player is added to the matrix, I'll accumulate their stats each week. But if they're below 500, they just won't be able to make the top 6, and that's really what I want to kind of emphasize is the top 6 each week. So the leader in points per game was Curry. Assists per game, nope, that's last week. The leader in points per game was Curry and Durant, a tie. And then assists per game, Westbrook and Lowry tied. So Westbrook's assists per game have gone up to 10 even. And Lowry has dropped from about 10.1 or 10.2 to 10. Lowry's assists per game was exactly... Oh, wait, that's week 9 too. I got too much paper in front of me. Kyle Lowry's assist per game last week was 10.1, and this week it is 10. So his has dropped and Westbrook's has gone up. The leader in blocks per game is Anthony Davis, followed by Embiid and Giannis. There's no change there, really. LeBron was 5th and Simmons 4th. I believe LeBron moved up from last week. LeBron in rebounds was 5th last week, or that's blocks. I'm confusing myself. These numbers are this text is so small in this paper in order to fit all these people from the Excel sheet onto one page. Okay, so that was blocks per game, and then rebounds was Embiid first, Antetokounmpo second, and Davis third. really no change there either. I would assume that top three will stay that way the entire year unless Griffin starts to rebound the ball better or Jokic rebounds the ball like he probably could and should. Plus minus was Lowry, Westbrook, Curry. 3-point percentage is Curry, Harris, Irving. Irving he wasn't in the MVP matrix last week, so I don't know where he would have been last week, but I wouldn't have guessed that Curry would finish sixth. So I believe the Celtics with last night's win are now, they did win last night, didn't they? Yeah, they won in overtime against the Wizards, 130-125. I'm going to get to that game here shortly. But Irving has certainly played well, and I think they've won 7 straight now. Curry had 37 last night. So where did I leave off? Did I say Curry? I meant Irving. I'm pretty sure I just said Curry, but I meant Irving because I've been talking about Irving, obviously. Although Curry did finish in the top of the 3-point percentage, which is the one that I just read. Holy shit. Curry, Harris, and Irving, and that's Tobias Harris from the Clippers. Field goal percentage was Ben Simmons, Antetokounmpo, and LeBron. I believe LeBron bounced up in field goal percentage from last week. Nope, he was third last week as well. And win percentage was Lowry and Leonard tied for first. The Raptors are leading the NBA in win percentage. Antetokounmpo and Jokic tied for second. Simmons, Curry, Durant, and Embiid tied for third. That was the same last week. And then Westbrook fifth. So the final overall standings again for this week are Giannis Antetokounmpo finishing first with 57 overall points. Kawhi Leonard finishing second with 59 overall points. Kevin Durant finishing third with 61 overall points. LeBron James finishing fourth with 66 points. Davis finishing fifth with 69 points. And Steph Curry finishing, where are you at, Steph? Sixth with 71. Now, as I was just talking about Irving's addition to the MVP matrix, I realized that I don't know why I'm confusing Curry and Irving so much. Their names don't really sound similar. The only thing I can think of is that they're both great ball handlers. But Curry finished sixth, not Irving. Irving finished seventh. But okay, let's talk about some of these games a little more in depth. I'll go Celtics Wizards from last night. Jason Tatum only had 12 points. Marcus Morris played really well, had 27 in a game against his brother. Kyrie again, 38. Marcus Smart, 18, was inserted into the starting lineup. Looks like Jaylen Brown didn't play again. He came back for a game or two maybe, and then is now back out. Gordon Hayward is out as well. On Washington's side of the ball, John Wall had 34, Bradley Beal 22, Jeff Green 22, Markieff Morris had 11 off the bench, Oubre Jr. had 20 off the bench. John Wall missed a lot of contested 15 to 17 foot jump shots down the stretch in the fourth quarter and in overtime. He did get to the basket pretty well. I'm not going to really shit on John Wall or Russell Westbrook. I think both played really well, and though they didn't really make big plays down the stretch, it's not like they fucked up completely down the stretch. For Boston, Kyrie hit a couple of, it proves why he should be in the MVP conversation, because when he's playing well, and he's been playing well, they play really well and have won 7 straight now. He hit a contested 3 from the left wing against John Wall within the second or third to last possession of the game in overtime. And that shot was John Wall was wearing John Wall essentially, and still got a I mean, it was a contested shot, like very heavily contested shot, but I'm surprised that John Wall wasn't able to block it. He was, I mean, I know you have to be ready for anything with Kyrie Irving because he can go by you so easily. So you can't really jump right away at a pump fake just in case it may be a pump fake or at a shot fake. But that was a huge three, and then came down, and as John Wall was looking back to see if a screen was coming, just pulled up from like 5 feet behind the arc and hit another three. That's a really positive win for the Celtics. They got a pretty good night from John Wall and Bradley Beal, and a good night from Jeff Green, but again, not tons of help from the surrounding cast. Kelly Oubre came in and did what he should do off the bench and scored 20. So a really big win for the Celtics. The next game is the Pelicans and the Thunder. Paul George had 25 last night on 52.9% shooting, 42.9, 3 of 7 from 3 is good. 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Russell Westbrook had 20. Steven Adams also had 20 on 77% shooting. Russ shot 50%, but 28.6, 2 of 7 from 3. Continues to not shoot the ball very well from 3, although I believe his 3-point percentage from last week to this week went up. This week from 3, he's shooting 22.3%. Last week from 3, 22.4. So it actually has dropped a little bit. I don't know why I thought it had gone up. For some reason, I was thinking he was at like 13% from last week, which would be a drastic improvement. So then on the Pelicans side of the ball, Anthony Davis finished with 44. Again, I mentioned earlier that he is leading the league in 40-point plus games this season with I believe it's 4 or 5, and had 40-something in his last game. Julius Randle continues to play well, 22. Drew Holiday, 20. Both of those are probably right around their averages. That may be slightly below Drew Holiday's average, but both shot pretty well from the floor. 38% from Holiday could be better for sure. Julius Randle, 56% is good. Drew Holiday was 1 of 6 from 3 as well, 16.7%, which is way below, I would assume, his average from 3. They didn't get much off the bench in a win, though. They got 10 and 8. Those are the only points that came off the bench from Darius Miller and Frank Jackson. OKC. No, I just did OKC. Okay, I want to talk a little more about the Warriors-Raptors game and the instant replay stuff. I haven't really talked much about the instant replay stuff lately. It's been a couple weeks since I brought it up. To start this podcast, I was very, very critical of the replay center. There was a moment last night in the game where OG Anunoby kneed Kevin Durant as he went up for a right-handed layup. He was on the left side, but you're taught as a kid from the very beginning when you're learning the game of basketball that when you shoot a right-handed layup, your knee goes up with your arm. So your knee is connected on a string to your elbow, and it should mimic the movement of your elbow. And so the knee that he gave Kevin Durant, I think they ended up calling it a common foul, but they went and looked at it in the replay center, and Van Gundy shares my sentiment about the replay center, was ripping those guys and called all 4 of the guys that sit in the replay center out by name and was like, do we really need 4 of them? Can't 2 of them just go home to their families? This shouldn't be this difficult. And he's really funny. Those 3 together, Mark Jackson, Mark Jones, and Stan Van Gundy, are, in my opinion, the best. They're the best broadcast team in sports right now. I don't watch football, so I don't really know anything about football announcers today. I know that, and I know the big names, Joe Buck and John Madness from a long time ago, but I know Tony Romo is really good now. I've heard that the Monday Night Football crew is really bad, but these guys, it's such a perfect mix of Mark Jones keeps them together, and in my opinion, Mark Jones sometimes tries a little too hard to like keep up with the lingo. He says sauce a little bit too much. He says just some stuff that sounds sort of funny. It just doesn't sound natural coming out of his mouth. But that group is great. And towards the end of the game, they were hilarious. It was a blowout, and they were talking about Mark Jones's family being like a really historic. All of them just love the game of basketball. And his grandparents, who are in their 90s, continue to watch basketball late. Partially to listen to their son, but just because they love the game so much. But it was just funny to hear them all, like, they just were shooting the shit, basically, at the end of that game, kind of just hanging out. Van Gundy was hilarious. Him and Jackson's relationship is really, really good. But there was something I did sort of disagree with. They said that the basketball play that OG Anunoby made when he led with his knee, I think it was mainly because it hit Durant in the balls. But like, that's a basketball play by definition. You are lifting your knee up with your elbow to shoot a right-handed layup. And maybe there just needs to be a reworking of the wordage or the verbiage that makes up the flagrant rule. But I guess, I don't know, maybe the ruling is exaggerated or not a basketball motion, but they were calling it not a basketball motion. Maybe it should be an exaggerated basketball motion. Or if you do the basketball motion to a certain part of a man's body, or like if you hit somebody in the balls, it's just possibly automatically a flagrant, whether you meant it or not. But even that's too far, because it's a fast-paced, very creative, very arms and legsy game, if that makes sense. It's just a lot of flailing of arms and legs, and somebody's bound to get hit in the balls. But I just kind of disagreed with, they were calling it not a basketball motion, but that is quite literally by definition a basketball motion. Like, that's one of the, along with shooting and putting your hand in the cookie jar, that's like, one of the very fundamental things that you're taught in the game of basketball starting out. So I just didn't really agree with that very much. But again, that's by far, in my opinion, the best broadcast team, especially because of Jackson and Van Gundy's dynamic. But they're just both really funny together. I think Van Gundy is fucking hilarious. I could listen to him talk about basketball all day long. I would love to sit down and talk basketball with Van Gundy. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would love that same thing, and I'm sure that he would want to sit down with a lot of anybody but me. Maybe not. I'm sure that I would take precedent over a number of people in the world. There's a shit ton of us in the world, but I would really love to talk basketball with Van Gundy. Let me look around the league at some of the other games. That's about all I got as far as in-depth. That's pretty much all I covered. Oh no, I watched the Trailblazers and the Grizzlies game. That one wasn't nearly as entertaining as the other three, but Lillard played well, had 40 points. McCollum played really well. Oh no, McCollum had 40. That's what I thought. I was thinking as I said that like, wow, McCollum definitely played better, and I saw him score way more. There was a point in that game where I wasn't sure if Lillard was playing. I thought maybe he was injured, because I was very half paying attention to this game. The others I was pretty keyed in on. This one I didn't pay nearly as close of attention to, but McCollum had 40, Lillard 14, Al-Farouq Aminu 10, and the Grizzlies won 92-83. On the Memphis side of the ball, Jaren Jackson Jr. had 14, Mike Conley had 23, Gasol had 9. Wow. That's not an overly... 23 is probably right around Conley's average. 9 is way below Gasol's average. Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably right around 14 to 17, maybe a little higher. But for a rookie, a 14... I mean, for them to win that game with not a very good performance all around from They only had one guy off the bench in double figures and two of their starters in double figures. I guess they did spread the scoring around. Everyone that played in the game scored, except for everyone that Ivan Rab didn't play. I don't know who the hell that is. But yeah, everybody that played scored. Noah came off the bench, played 13 minutes, and had 4 points. I really, I used to really love Joakim Noah because I was a Bulls fan when Derrick Rose was at the height of his career, and Joakim Noah is definitely one of those guys that if he's on your team, you love him. And pretty much other than that, he's a hippie-looking, grungy, dirty-looking hustle guy. Like kind of the guy that you hate. Draymond Green is very similar to that, although he's not quite as dirty looking as Joakim Noah. So the other games in the 11-game night were Hawks Mavericks. Mavs won that one 114-107. Doncic had 24 points, 10 rebounds. Trae Young also had 24 points and 10 assists. I would assume that was a good game to watch. I'm sort of disappointed I missed that. Just to see Doncic and Trae Young, two of the better rookies in this class, although Young hasn't had nearly the season that Doncic, who is, I think, in everybody's list, the rookie of the year thus far. The Jazz beat the Heat 111-84, so a good win for the Jazz in what is hopefully a lull in their schedule. I know Doris Burke mentioned last night that the Jazz have played the second toughest schedule so far and have had probably the most away games thus far. So the Heat are certainly a game that they should and need to win to improve their record and hopefully climb out of the bottom of the West, which again isn't all that difficult right now because of the separation being so slim in the West. Two other West teams played last night, the Timberwolves and the Kings. The Kings won 141-130, shot 58.1% from the field, 19 of 38 from threes. Oh no, that's from the field as well, 19 of 38. The Kings continue to play really well, are now 15-12. The Timberwolves have certainly dropped off a little bit since the Butler trade, I think, and are now 13-15 and out of the playoffs. Some other games, it's really about all that I care about. The Pistons and the Hornets was a good game. Jeremy Lamb hit a game winner, but I didn't see any of that. Cavaliers-Knicks was a relatively close game, 113-106. I guess that's like a close game in the NBA. I didn't catch any of that. And then the Pacers, still playing really, really well without Victor Oladipo, are 18-10 in the East and just beat the second place team, the Bucks, 113-97. So the Pacers are having a really, really positive year, and I think are probably going to just fly under the radar this entire year. Unless Oladipo comes back and starts to play like an MVP, then he could be added to the Matrix, and they could possibly maybe splash a little more waves. Fuck. The 76ers and the Nets was a really good game. Dinwiddie had 39 points. Embiid had 33. I didn't catch any of that, but did actually watch a little bit of the highlights from that game. Spencer Dinwiddie is a great player. But unfortunately, he plays for the Nets. It'd be interesting to see him on a team that was much better. It would be interesting to see him as like a third scorer. I don't think that he could probably be a one or a two, but I don't think he could be a one or a two on a really good team. He's certainly the one scorer right now on a shit team. I would love to see him as like a second scorer. He would be interesting to see play alongside LeBron. You could really say that about anybody. Now, you could really say it'd be interesting to see anybody play with LeBron because he just makes everybody that much better. But yeah, I would love to see him as a third scorer somewhere. So that about does it for Wednesday's games. I want to take a look at the standings. Never mind. I covered the standings pretty good in the MVP Matrix talk. You know what? Fuck it. So first is the Raptors, 23-7, and then the Nuggets at 18-9, and the Bucks are tied with at 0.667%. But the Nuggets lead the West now. Oh, the Nuggets and the Warriors are tied in the West, but the Warriors' win percentage 0.655 is just slightly slower. Slightly lower is just slightly lower. The 76ers are third. The Pacers are fourth in the East. Those are both in the East. The Sixers are not third overall. And then Boston has climbed up to fifth and Charlotte sixth. And then rounding out the East is 7-8 Detroit Pistons and Orlando Magic. The Magic, with Vujicic's performance thus far this year, are they're a playoff team. They're a playoff team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. The Magic are a playoff team. That's interesting. And the Bulls have completely tanked and are now worse than the Hawks and the Cavs in the East at 6-22. They have a .214 win percentage. So first in the West is the Nuggets. Golden State second. Oklahoma City has now dropped down to third after being first like a day and a half ago. The Clippers are fourth. The Lakers fifth, and are just one game out of first. So the Thunder lost last night, dropping them down, and the Warriors won, moving up. The Clippers, I don't believe, played last night. No, they didn't play last night. And if the Lakers win tonight over the Rockets in a game on TNT at 8 o'clock, that should be a really good game. Unfortunately, Brandon Ingram will be out with that ankle injury, so it's a rematch between the Rockets and the Lakers of the game where the fight took place early on in the season. But the Rockets at 12-14 are second to last in the West, so certainly a game the Lakers need to win. But the Lakers potentially overnight could be first in the West. Again, you don't want to take too much stock into it because the 8th seed in the playoffs is 3.5 games, the Portland Trailblazers, out of first place. And the second to last team, the Rockets, 5.5 games out. The West continues to be really, really interesting, and I really look forward to tonight's game with the Lakers and the Rockets. I'm not even going to look at the other games. We'll worry about those for tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Please go out and do whatever the fuck you want to do, because you and we can both do anything.